Hey guys, today I wanted to touch upon a very important topic, at least for me. It's something that I've been experienced a lot lately, and this is a reading slump. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that, and it's quite relevant these days. Well, I mean, at any time, probably. So, here are some ways to get out of a reading slump. Way number one is quite obvious and simple, but I still want to mention it, is to get a new book. Well, it often happens to me that I kind of read a book and it's really heavy going, and I don't know. I think that it's me actually that just can't get into a book, but quite often it's not the case. I think quite often it's the book which is not suitable for you at the moment, or maybe the book is boring. Well, it also can be a case that you have this rule, as I do, that you have to read everything until the end. Well, I think at the end of the day it's not worth it. We can't read everything, right? So why not enjoy good books and just let bad good books or boring books go? Another way to get out of a reading slump would be to, set some kind of rule for yourself. I usually go for 1 hour per day. It means that I tell myself that, well, no matter what, I have to read for 1 hour. The good thing is that you can actually break it down into small periods. You can read for 10 minutes, then do some other stuff, read for 10 more minutes, and like that. And it's easier to make yourself read it, and at the end of the day you are satisfied quite a lot. And sometimes you actually get into the story and you start reading more. There is one more way which I really wanted to share with you, and I find it quite useful. I use it a lot myself. So I call it 1.5 chapter at a time. So the thing is, I don't know how about you, but quite often with me, when I come to an end of a chapter, I feel kind of I need to take a break. And it breaks the reading cycle. Because, for example, when there is a chapter which has 50 pages, I quite often finish until the end. Even if I get tired a little bit, I still want to finish the chapter. But if chapters are like 5 pages, then I would be just making breaks every 5 pages. So, what I told myself, and what I do, I read 1 chapter plus 1 more paragraph. So I start reading maybe 1 more page from the next chapter, and quite often I get into reading and I actually understand that I want to read more and to see how the story develops. One more way in which I would recommend to use to get out of a reading slump would be to go with small books. Again, I think that reading a small book is easier because you want to finish the end quicker, and you do that quicker, and it gives you a sense of completion. So and the story usually wraps up itself, so it's much more satisfying sometimes when you feel like you're in a reading slump. So you just get a small book and be done with it quite quickly. At the same time, there is quite an opposite way to that. You can actually take big books, or rather books with a lot of books in a series, like book series, I mean. And the thing is that it's much easier to get into you have to get into the first book, but then it goes much quicker because you want to read more and more of the story. You already know the characters, and you want to see how it all will end up in the end. One more way in which you can get to read more books is to take books from a library. You usually have a time period and you want to finish everything before you can give the books back. One more thing I would do is to get something tasty to lay around. Well, of course it can have other consequences. Well, so one more way to get out of reading slump, at least in my experience, would be to change the place where you read. Quite often we kind of need a new surrounding just to feel comfortable and be in the mood to read something. It can be a cafe. I often go to a cafe to read, and usually you don't have anything that distracts you that much, so the reading kind of goes quicker than usual. So you can also go to a park or things like that. It would be a nice place to relax as well. Way number 5 would be to get some company. Quite often when we read something, we just don't feel responsible kind of for reading. So it would be nice to set some rules and to enter a competition, for example, or some reading competitions, of which there are a lot, where you can, when you have to read a certain amount of pages during a certain period. Or it can be reading a book per month, something like this, or maybe 30 books per month, I don't know. Anyway, it can be also some reading club where you have to prepare a certain amount of pages read before each session. So it would be a nice kick to get you reading as well. Way number 6 would be, well, it's a bit tricky, but I think that it can work in certain situations, is to read a few books at the same time. You know, we sometimes want to read something, but we get kind of tired with the same story real quick. And in these cases, reading from different books would be a nice choice. So you can read 20 pages from one book, then take another book, and overall, during the day, you will read enough, at the same time staying interested. Well, similar to one of the ways which I presented earlier, you can use this technique. I think it's similar to Pomodoro technique, when you tell yourself to read for 1 or 2 minutes. Even if you don't want to, I think 2 minutes is quite possible to bear, and you can make yourself to read for 2 minutes under any circumstances. And quite often these 2 minutes turn into 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour. Way number 8 would be as simple as getting an audiobook. Well, and one final advice would be to start a reading blog like I did. So now I know that I have to upload more videos, at least a couple of videos every week. So I have to read more because I have some schedule to be on. I have to upload the videos, and well, it makes me read more books. That is actually all I could think of at the moment, but I think that there are many more other ways in which you can get out of a reading slump. So it would be nice to hear your ideas and your experience, so share them in the comments, please. It would be nice.